Hey guys, Bugcat7 here. Okay, it is Thursday, February 21st, 2019, and I want to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research channel here on YouTube. Thank you very much, I really appreciate it. Please do hit the like button, guys, if you like the videos, and if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, because I've got a lot of good stuff on my channel you're not going to want to miss. Alright, well, you know, in some of my videos, especially the ones on geopolymers that I've done recently, Tartarian free energy geopolymer video that I did, and the Roman concrete, and how I'm just suggesting that, you know, there's a possibility that these people knew more about electricity in the past that, you know, than, you know, we're really certain of. And how they might have applied it may have been in ways that we're not necessarily thinking of as well, too. So, but in any case, you know, I produced some of these videos. Some people got upset at it or whatever. I mean, there's no proof of any of this, but you know, people are throwing ideas around, and I found this article on Saqqara at the Serapeum at Saqqara online, one of the places where I normally see a lot of archaeological news, etc., by this fellow, Borisov, you know, who's a journalist, and it's, you know, it's another, you know, alternative idea. I'm not saying that I necessarily believe this, you know, 100%, but I'm glad to see people are throwing around the idea that, you know, the ancient people had knowledge of electricity, because that is something that people are thinking about, other researchers, you know, and, you know, there could be, you know, there seems to be evidence of, you know, there could be knowledge of this, you know, that why would it be such a stretch if, you know, the further back, see, this is an idea that people can't get in their head, that maybe further back in time you go, it gets more advanced. So, like, you know, the pyramids at Giza and the other pyramids in Egypt that don't seem quite as advanced as the ones at Giza, you know. So, and other places where there's advanced stuff here, and, you know, and more, you know, intermediate stuff built on, you know, more, you know, megalithic stuff. There's a lot of mysterious stuff going on in the building techniques. But in any case, you know, as I said, I don't necessarily believe this is, you know, what happened, but maybe they're throwing around these ideas. But I thought it was interesting, and here's what the Serapeum, you know, a little map of the Serapeum here, and I mean, if you look at this thing, it certainly has an industrial design. You know, I studied industrial design in school, and, you know, these appear to be empty here. You know, obviously where they were found, the sarcophagi, and I don't know, this whole thing has a very, very, you know, high-tech, you know, industrial design element to me, you know, but, you know, call me crazy, but, you know, that's what it looks like. And is a picture of, you know, they have the step pyramid there at Saqqara, besides these other, you know, structures there. Very interesting stuff. And, well, let me read you the article and we'll go over it. You know, here's a picture of one of the sarcophagi, the bull sarcophagi. You can see all these niches in the walls, and don't forget, these places have been robbed for years and years. I'm thinking to myself, you know, these things, impressions in the wall, don't seem very deep to me. They, you know, sort of suggest they held something, you know, tightly was held inside these, you know, cutouts in the wall that are no longer there. But I wonder what could have been, you know, put in these things. And it seems to me they're so shallow that, you know, there's sort of inserts went in there and they're probably stolen later on or whatever, but, or, you know, maybe some sort of kind of plating or something like that, that help the sort of electrical nature of the internal, electromagnetic field inside here. Maybe these inserts held panels, or, panels were on here. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just postulating. But let's read this article. It's kind of cool that they're looking at it this way. But all right. So lighting up Saqqara, an electrifying alternative theory for the Oversight Serapeum sarcophagi. The Serapeum of Saqqara has been a continuous source of speculation and mystery since its rediscovery in 1850. Even now, no theory has been able to explain exactly how or why the 24 giant sarcophagi were moved to the site and precisely installed in their notches. The mainstream theory suggests that the site was used for the burial of Apis bulls, though there are many elements which do not add up with this belief. Okay, I got some pictures here, I think. Here's the entrance to the place. Okay, and then you go down inside there. Hey, I want to see the bulls. Well, there's no bulls here. Well, where did they go? We don't know. Okay, so bulls were in there, right? Yeah. So, in any case, this is what they say the bull, mummy was like in the measurements, how many meters and all that kind of stuff. Alright. For example, the size of the boxes exceeds the size of the bulls. Was it done to provide extra comfort for them? Why not do the same for the pharaohs, who were buried in tiny coffins barely fitting their bodies? Why did they make the Serapeum sarcophagi out of granite and not with limestone, a material much easier to work with? And if Serapeum was the burial site for the Apis bulls, where are all the bull mummies? A little Photoshop to compare the size of a bull, which is about 2.3 meters long, and a Serapeum sarcophagus based on measurement by Linen Bay. This is a typical bull mummy from dynastic times. That's the photo that I was showing you there, right? One of the sarcophagus that weigh like 100 tons or 80 tons or whatever the heck it is. Several people reject the theory of the Serapeum having been used for ceremonial burials, at least not in the grand gallery of the site where the large coffins are located. But if not that, then what was it used for? That is the question posed by some Egyptologists, and it is little wonder that they hear, quote, sounds of crickets chirping, unquote, in return. In other words, they found no other plausible alternative theory. By default, we fall back to the Apis theory with all of its flaws. I gave this some thought and put together a theory which seems to answer some of the questions. So that's this guy's theory, not mine. Okay, but they're thinking about it in this way with, them generating electric power. Fermentation in pre-dynastic Egypt. It is well known that pre-dynastic Egyptians knew the process of fermentation. By about 3000 BC, they had already utilized the process to brew beer and bake bread. And some scholars have said the process was known even before then. Let's assume someone in pre-dynastic Egypt mixed some starch and meat, placed those ingredients inside a giant coffin, and closed the lid. A particular set of ingredients come into mind: bread, beer, barley, and oxen, as those are mentioned so many times in ancient Egyptian texts. As fermentation starts, yeast begins to convert the starch present in barley into CO2 gas and ethanol. The amount of CO2 gas increases in the box, building pressure. I will explain later why this pressure is important. But first, let's analyze this setup. Alright. Comes a little bit later. The granite boxes are made with high precision and have a tolerance within 1 micron, so closing the lid essentially makes them hermetically sealed. Granite is not a porous material, so little of the gas would seep through the walls. The lid also weighs about 30 tons, so the pressure of the gas would have to be substantial before it would pop open. The process continues as long as the chemical composition of the substances inside the sarcophagus and the temperature are comfortable for yeast to keep growing. One of the Serapeum sarcophagi in Saqqara, Egypt. That was the picture I was showing you here. And, you know, researchers have said that they think all the, you know, the detail on here was added by the dynastic Egyptians, like Brian Foster thinks, and not because they seem so crude in their design, you know, in their way, and not precision like the box suggests they should be, you see. So they think that these were added sometime, you know, during the dynastic Egyptians, but the boxes had been there already for thousands of years. So back to the article here. One component essential for yeast to grow is oleic acid. This is a fatty acid present in animal and plant fat. Oleic acid is essential for the yeast to maintain its growth rate. This acid is, another acid produced by ancient people, maybe. This and knowledge of it, you know. I mentioned knowledge of acids in the Roman concrete video because of this lady's suggestions. But in any case, about, you know, salt, water, and concrete seem ridiculous. But all right, this acid is also essential for yeast to overcome the toxic effect of ethanol, which would be building up in the coffin as a byproduct of fermentation. That acid is present in abundance in meat. I cannot help but wonder if the main purpose of the meat or bull body parts placed in huge granite boxes was to provide proper chemical components for the yeast to sustain long-term growth. As fermentation continues, the CO2 gas builds pressure in the granite box. The granite can withstand at least 200 MPa pressure. To put this in perspective, this is as much as 1,000 times more pressure than car tires have. The yeast in the box will be exposed to that pressure and is capable of withstanding that much stress. As pressure grows, there will be mechanical stress on a huge granite box. It is well known granite is made of quartz crystals, and under mechanical stress, those crystals generate electric charge. Thus, more pressure means more electrical charge is generated. Okay? And we're going to look at an example of a granite rock in the cliffs of Gros La Tête, arid island, Seychelles. The thin, brighter layers are quartz veins formed during late stages of crystallization of granitic magmas. They are also sometimes called hydrothermal veins. So he's just saying some of the properties of this kind of granite have this, crystalline stuff in between the rock, to facilitate the, energy. So, get to that in a second. Alright, so at some point the pressure inside the box will overcome the lid weight and pop it open, releasing the gas. However, when the Serapeum was rediscovered in 1850, a few sketches were made of the interior at that time or shortly after. The following image is one of those sketches. One interesting aspect that cannot be missed in this picture is the stack of stones piled on top of the sarcophagus lid. It appears someone may have used blocks to counter the pressure inside the box with additional weight mounted on the lid, essentially extending the pressure of the quartz crystals. And that's what this sketch is when they found these things. But look, the lid is moved, and the stuff is on top of it too. Just again, more questions than answers with the Serapeum. Even though they like to give us a lot of answers. All right. One other point to make here is that if someone opened the lid of the Serapeum sarcophagi millennia later, most likely that person would see only what the yeast did not consume before drying out. That would be bull bones, which is exactly what Mariette found in the Serapeum when it was discovered in 1850. Mariette was a French archaeologist, or treasure hunter, you know, probably more likely a treasure, because they can't find his notes. Can't find any of his notes at all. So they don't really know what he found and whatever. It's a lot of conjecture about that. So, I don't know if there's another picture here. No. Alright. Giant sarcophagi are giant batteries. Many who have visited the Serapeum since it was open may have noticed that no soot is present on the ceiling and the walls. So, I mean, there's no soot on the ceiling and the walls, and, you know, many scientists and archaeologists have speculated about that, and it can't really be figured out. So, in any case, they're mentioning that here. Upon making note of this, one cannot help but wonder how all the work was completed underground in complete darkness. Giving this some thought, I do not think the place would have been dark at all. The effect of high-pressure stress on granite material and luminescence caused by that stress was analyzed by Kato, Mitsui, and Yanagadani in 2010. And that's this picture here. And you see the piece of granite, which people say, hey, couldn't make artificial granite. You know, you can see it. Granite itself looks like a mixture of something. It looks like you could make something like that if you had the right technology. And here it is under stress, and it's glowing. These different colors that they, you know, this is under a tremendous amount of stress, and this thing produces light, luminescence, which the author is mentioning. Again, I'm not saying I agree, with what he's saying, but it's just interesting that he's putting forth, and how these people might have known about electricity and how to harness it. Maybe, it's just he's going at it too. In this study, a slab of granite was selected and stressed with high pressure to the point that light began to glow on the stone surface. The image below shows the experimental results from that study. As analyzed in the paper, granite under stress builds voltage potential on its surface. If the voltage is high enough, it ionizes the air around the surface, creating a glow. So that was that picture. As the pressure built in the granite boxes of the Serapeum, I do not think the Grand Gallery would have been dark. However, it is very unlikely that the builders went to the effort of moving such weight around just to light the hall of the Grand Gallery. There has to be more pragmatic reason. Let's consider how the electrical charges could have been utilized in ancient Egypt. All right. There's another sketch, an old sketch of the Grand Gallery there at the Serapeum where the bull boxes were found, right? Cool, old sketch. All right. Earthquake lights. Over the centuries, there have been numerous reports of lights which appear in different shapes, forms, and different lengths of time above the ground surface shortly before, during, or after earthquakes. One recent instance of earthquake light occurrence was reported in L'Aquila, Italy in 2009 when a place was hit with a 6.3 tremor. Shortly before the earthquake, people reported seeing lights above the city. The phenomenon was analyzed in detail. About 1,000 people were interviewed. The conclusion of the study was that electric charges released during the earthquake caused the light effect. Even though the phenomenon is known since antiquity, all right, get what this guy's saying. Even though the phenomenon is known since antiquity, recent video monitoring, pretty much installed on every corner in cities, help researchers analyze it, and a few research teams have done so. A team at San Jose University led by Professor Freund compiled data from 65 different sites around the world where earthquake lights were noticed. Extensive work has been done on analyzing the data and the physics behind it. Results show the earthquake light phenomena is caused by stressing granite material present in soil. Theoretical and experimental verification has been completed to support the results. I can only wonder if the same mechanism for light implementation could have been used in the Serapeum in pre-dynastic times. If you think about it, all the necessary components were present at the site. As the granite boxes experienced mechanical stress, electrical charges would appear. The charges typically are dispersed towards the ground surface. When the charges reach the surface, they ionize air pockets above the ground and would have lit the sky above Saqqara. Let's see what other pictures are here. There's the Grand Gallery. That, you know, that was the sketch of it, and here it is, you know, 2000s. And here's another sarcophagus. So, see the precision of it. It's just amazing. Of these things is just incredible. So, okay, in summary, I think the giant Serapeum sarcophagi were used to generate electrical charges with pressure built inside by CO2 gas. The pressure put on the quartz crystals created electrical charges on the surface of the sarcophagi. Those charges would then disperse from underground toward the ground surface. The released charges would have ionized the air above Saqqara, causing the air to glow. So, look, maybe, I don't know, all right? But here's somebody who's thinking about that. And, you know, you can see it certainly has, you know, a sort of industrial design element to it. And, you know, the fact that this guy, we don't have the French archaeologist, we don't have his notes, nobody can see this bull. That was supposedly the bones of the bull that were found there. You know, so there's a lot of questions about it, you know, what was really there. And the rest of the things were empty. I think if you open one and found, you know, cow bones, you wouldn't be motivated much to open another one. You know what I'm saying? If you're a you know, tomb robber or something like that. So, look, it's possible, and you know, so much discussion about the pyramids and the other constructions around Egypt being of, you know, different purposes, and, you know, knowledge of electricity, knowledge of magnetism, knowledge of sound, knowledge of things, you know, because of the complexity of these structures and how they were built. And, you know, it can't be denied. But who to attribute all of this originally to, that's a whole nother ballgame, and how far back history goes on all of this stuff. And, you know, what the Egyptians found and what, you know, later dynasty, earlier dynasty, you know, just all this other stuff, you know, and more, you know, just incredible. But in any case, guys, I just thought I'd go through that with you, but just to show you that, you know, there's plenty of alternative researchers thinking about, you know, how ancient people had a knowledge of electricity, but who knows at what level and at what times, you know, or what knowledge was left over from people who knew more about it, less about it, you know, only had so much information, had all the information. You know, we don't know, because the history of this planet is just not completely clear. So, all right, guys. Anyway, Bugcat7 signing out. I hope you liked the video, guys. Hit the like button if you kindly would, and I'll see you for another video real soon. All right? Peace.